while airplanes and buses full of African immigrants are arriving in African countries from South Africa, I would like to take a moment and address a couple of things. Number one, Ubuntu teaches us timeless African truth. But I am because we are. And this is not just a philosophy. It is the moral foundation of African unity, African dignity, but also African shared destiny. Yet the treatment of fellow Africans in South Africa has shed more light and challenged this Ubuntu principle. And it has forced the African continent to wrestle and confront a difficult question. Have we forgotten Ubuntu? Or where is our Ubuntu? From an African Union perspective, xenophobia against fellow Africans is not just a South African problem. It is an African failure. Ubuntu demands that we see ourselves through others. When a Nigerian, a Zimbabwean, a Zambian, a Mozambican, a Malawian, a Congolese, or Ethiopian is attacked for seeking opportunity in South Africa, it is a greater sign that Ubuntu in us is dying. At the same time, we have to acknowledge that Ubuntu requires honesty and accountability. South Africans facing unemployment, poverty, and inequality have legitimate concerns within the borders of their own country. However, Ubuntu rejects finger-pointing, blaming, and scapegoating. Fellow Africans are not the cause of economic hardships in South Africa. The greater challenge in Africa is leadership. Every African leader has a duty and responsibility that is rooted in Ubuntu to create opportunity, security, and prosperity for their own citizens. When governments fail to provide jobs, education, and economic hope for their people, migration becomes a necessity rather than a choice. No nation, like South Africa, should be forced to carry the burden of another's leadership failure or failures. Therefore, Ubuntu calls for shared responsibility. South Africa and South Africans must protect all Africans within their borders, while African governments must build economies that allow their people to thrive right at home. The future of Africa will not be secured through a divided Africa, or through exclusion, or through finger pointing. It will be secured through shared Ubuntu, through recognition that success of one African nation depends on the success of all. An injury to one African is an injury to Africa itself. I believe that a better Africa for all is possible. But it begins with Ubuntu, honesty, and responsibility. Realizing that Africa is as a continent, is very rich in resources. So African leaders must take responsibility for the betterment of Africa and for Africans. I'll see you soon.